Welcome to the Villa Forever podcast. I am your host, Chad Williams. This evening, I am joined by my special guest, Neil Dunworth, who is the host of the For the Love of Paul McGrath Aston Villa podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, Neil.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here, Chad. Thank you very much. You asked me to come on maybe about 2 weeks ago, and we couldn't get it done last week because
Yes.
I was travelling over to the Forest game. But I'm delighted to be able to sit down today and chat.
Yes, so how are you, Neil?
I'm very good. I got to see Aston Villa win last week, and I hope to get to see Aston Villa win again this week. Albeit this week, it'll be on television. Last week was in the ground, so I was absolutely delighted.
Well, it's very exciting times for a football club.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it really is. And we're a long time waiting for this, Chad. So I'm a big believer in you should absolutely celebrate every single win. You should celebrate every goal like it's your last because, in 2015, 2016, we thought that we would never, ever get relegated from the Premier League. And then we did. And it's taken that long to get back to this level again. So,
it's we could dream actually of Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. Last night, like possible. It's been, it is and you know what, Chad, we win at the weekend.
Yes,
and it becomes really possible. Then it becomes a real possibility. So I'm giddy. I'm excited about Aston Villa, and I think every single Aston Villa fan should be as well.
It's actually good. The good times are back, I think.
Yeah, exactly, and hopefully they're here to stay because there's no. Yeah. There's no how am I going to put it? It's no accident that they've come back under Unai Emery. He's a good manager, and
he's a genius.
I'm sure we'll chat an awful lot about Unai Emery over the rest of this podcast because he's been the real catalyst.
And Villa Park, it's got its feel good factor back.
Absolutely, it was the atmosphere before the game last week was really good. I think a lot of fans are interested in watching the game as well, and what I mean by that is that they're interested in seeing how the game pans out because Unai Emery doesn't play an exciting brand of football. Well, he hasn't really played a massively exciting brand of football, but you always expect him to get a result. Yeah, and
I think Newcastle. They'll probably test us. That'd be the big test to see where we're at.
I think so too. Alexander Isak has come back. He's in great form, just like Ollie Watkins is. He's going to be a test. And
Ollie Watkins, he's won me a few bets,
I forgot completely to put any bet on for him last week, but I know quite a lot of people who were in the ground who did and were celebrating a 2-0 win and Ollie Watkins to score.
Because he's unstoppable, he's on fire, Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, he's got it in him. He's got that scoring touch in him. And Unai Emery has put a lot of faith in him as well because his, selling Danny Ings, leaving us with only really one recognised striker. That was a big leap of faith for Ollie Watkins, and he's repaid.
Because Watkins is playing the responsibility really well. Especially the responsibility of being the main striker, yeah?
Yeah, he has. And I genuinely believe he's going to score again at the weekend because... when he scores in the 92nd minute against Nottingham Forest, and he takes off his shirt, and it's like as if he scored a winner in a cup final.
Very confident,
he doesn't want to stop scoring. Exactly.
Well, Neil, before we get into the interview, I'd like to introduce myself to you.
Yeah.
My name is Chad Williams. I'm 27 years old. I actually suffer from a muscle wasting condition, Duchenne muscular dystrophy. It is genetic, and it affects all the muscles. I was diagnosed at 3 years old and I stopped walking when I was 9 years old. Also, I have very sadly lost a few friends with this disease and people that I knew. It's a real cruel disease. But despite this, I live life to the full as much as I can. Also, I volunteer twice a week in my local community. Also, I have a very busy social life. I'm an Aston Villa season ticket holder. I've supported them for 22 years. Another reason why I'm doing this podcast is to spread awareness about this cruel disease. So, Neil, if you could you spread some awareness for me?
Absolutely, Chad. Yeah, as I say, it's definitely something that I'd be more than happy to do.
Yeah. And what it is, I want to inspire other people that no matter who you are, you can achieve anything.
And that's very important. It's really important to do that and to be in a
Yeah.
position to do that. Like, even, as I say, thankfully, I don't have any
Yes.
long lasting chronic diseases or anything like that, thankfully. But anything that I am able to do to help people or to even help spread awareness, by all means, you've an
Oh,
ally here
thank you,
for
Neil.
sure.
That really means a lot. So, Neil, what part of Ireland are you from?
So I was born in a county called Limerick.
Yes.
And I am an extremely proud Limerick man. Just off camera here, I've got a
Oh, yeah.
signed Limerick hurling jersey.
That's
And
interesting.
yeah, I'm a big, very proud Limerick man. But I'm living in a county called Galway at the moment. I moved
Yeah.
up here for the love of a beautiful woman. That's why I moved up here.
Oh,
But
that's
my
nice.
heart very much remains
Well, actually,
in Limerick.
I've got family in Ireland.
Do you?
Yeah, my nan is from Dublin. And also, my granddad he was from Limerick.
Was he?
Yeah,
Excellent.
he sadly passed away 18 years ago. But he lived in Limerick.
Ah, Limerick is great. So you know where I'm talking about. So
Yeah. And also, one of my other granddads, who is sadly not here as well, he was from County Carlow.
Carlo's nice.
But I've always
Car-
wanted to go to Ireland. So I will visit there one day, definitely.
Do come over here, come over to Ireland, and
Yeah.
yeah, and get yourself over here and visit the old homeland of your grandparents for
Yes.
sure.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. So
Mm.
what inspired you to start the podcast?
Well, it's no secret that the podcast is named after a certain Paul
Oh,
McGrath,
probably.
and that's no secret. But I think and I've always been a huge fan of Paul McGrath. I've always been a
Yes.
huge. He got me to support what we call over here, because we've got a
Yeah.
game called Gaelic football. So I'm going to refer to it as soccer, but don't
Yes.
nobody hate me for that. It's just, it makes it easier when I start talking about, like, if it comes up in conversation about Gaelic
Yeah.
football as well. So he got me to like football or soccer, here, because I never really, I was 7,
Yeah.
when I first started really watching, and I was immediately hooked. But what inspired me to do the podcast was, I'll
Yeah.
be honest with you, it was kind of, I was just sick of watching games on my own.
Yes.
Uh, aren't an awful lot of, well, there are a lot of Aston Villa fans, but there wasn't an awful lot in my locality, and I started doing the podcast
Yeah.
to kind of get some things off my chest with regards to Aston Villa, and
Yes.
we'd just been re-promoted back up to the Premier League, so once again, feel good time in Aston Villa
Yeah.
fandom. And then all of a sudden, I realized there were so many people around that followed Aston Villa,
Oh,
and
he's a big fan.
huge. There's thousands of people in Ireland that follow Aston Villa. When we
Yeah.
went over last week, easily 70% of the plane that we were on were
Yeah.
all going to the game, and
Well,
they regularly go over like once, twice, 3 times a month to Villa
because
Park.
usually in Ireland, Man United or Liverpool fans usually.
You said it. Yeah, you're never too far away from a United or Villa fan, or United or
Right.
Liverpool fan in Ireland.
And also, Neil, I absolutely love your display.
Behind me.
Behind you. Yeah.
This is yeah, this is something to hide the bad paint job I did on the wall, Chad. That's
And
what that
also, Neil, I'll tell you an interesting story
hmm
about my dad. He learnt to swim in the River Shannon.
Did he?
And what we did, my dad's dad, he threw him in the River Shannon so he can learn to swim. Yeah.
I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't laugh, but he's not, that's a thing in around Limerick is that you learn how to swim in the river.
Yeah.
Chad, do you know what part of Limerick your granddad was from, the town or?
Dad, what part of Limerick?
It was it was the Island Field.
The Island
Oh,
Field.
yes, right. And I was going to say it was probably up around the Island Field or maybe out towards Castleconnell that direction.
Yeah.
But yeah, because that's where the river kind of skirts off the city the most. Yeah, that's amazing.
But what it is, and after that though, years later, my dad became a deep sea diver.
Well, there you go.
So it
It
helped
had a
him in the end, yeah. So do you go to many Villa matches when you can?
I do. Well, I don't go to as many as I'd like to.
Yeah.
I went to quite a few Villa games before 2016, Chad.
Yes.
And then I bought a house, and then I had a small family,
Yeah.
and my time got taken up a small little bit. So I've got, I went back last year. Last year,
Yes.
in April of last year, was my first time since 2016, and then I haven't been back since the game just gone.
Yeah.
And I had, it's a funny one. I had planned, and I had
Yeah.
secured tickets for 12 games this season, but
Oh
then
yeah.
we found out we were having another little child, our
Well,
second one. So
congratulations.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. So that's curtailed my trips over for a while, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get back over again maybe for the start of the season. And
Also, I've heard all the podcasters. I mean, you feel welcome. Did you get?
absolutely.
I mean, you liked it. Everyone saying waving to you
Yeah, it
at
was
Villa
it was
Park.
great. It genuinely was, and you think nobody listens, and not a lot of people do listen,
Yeah.
but you think nobody listens or whatever, but you just happen to meet three or four people that say, you know what, that's
Yeah.
great. And we were doing the podcast during lockdown as well, and a lot
Yes.
of people would say to us, when we were locked down and we could only maybe go and walk our dog, it was great to have all these Villa podcasts,
Oh yeah.
these podcasts that came out of the blue, or these new podcasts that were because I
Yeah.
just started doing my podcast in the August before
Oh yeah.
coronavirus hit. So yeah, and it's nice. It's nice to hear. It's because
Also, I really enjoyed your video vlog. I watched your
which
video
one?
vlog about Forest. Not the
Yes,
Forest guy.
uh, yes, yeah. That was good fun. Yeah.
So where do you sit at the Villa?
I always sit. So Paddy, my co-host, Paddy has a
Yeah.
season ticket in the Holt. So he's a season ticket in the Holt. But whenever I go, I like to sit in the Upper Trinity. Now
Yes.
don't get me wrong. The last two games I've only ever sat
Yeah.
in the Upper Trinity. But the reason being is because just off camera here as well,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
the chairman of an official supporters club
Oh,
affiliated
that's
with the
amazing.
with the club itself. So that's where I got my tickets through the official
Yeah.
supporters club, and they all sit together. So I had the real privilege of sitting alongside other
Yeah.
people who don't come to Villa Park that often. So I was sitting beside three chairmen that were
Oh yeah.
actually over from the United States. Um,
That's
and we're
interesting.
taking, yeah. So it was, and the opportunities. It's a nice vantage point. You get to,
Yeah.
we were almost right in the middle of the field, and we had a nice view. But you can
Well,
see
I sit,
everything from anywhere.
I sit in the Trinity Road stand.
Do you?
I sit above the tunnel,
Oh
to
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
left of
yeah,
the tunnel.
yeah.
I've got a real good seat there.
Excellent. Yeah. The time before I was there for
Yeah.
for Norwich, I sat right beside the tunnel. Well, maybe just up a small
Yeah.
bit. So, yeah, I mightn't have been too far away from you.
So what do you do in your spare time?
My spare time is
Yep.
full of sports. I do. I very rarely do anything else other than
Yeah.
watch sports, talk about sports,
Nice
go
one.
to watching TV, watch it live, listen to podcasts about sports.
Yeah.
I've been known to just turn off the lights at 8 o'clock and sit in the couch and listen to a podcast. So I'm very, very
Yeah.
sports orientated. But and everything really revolves around that.
Yeah.
I used to be a huge player of Football Manager before. I
Oh
used
yeah,
to
did
play
you?
Football Manager for my liking. But it was funny when lockdown hit, Chad. I stopped
Yes.
Football Manager I thought I would play it even more when
Yeah.
I had nothing to do. But it's a game I'd like to get back into playing again because God, I nearly lost all my school education from playing Football Manager. Believe me, I spent way more time on it than I should have.
Wait, so do you drink Guinness? I bet.
Apologies there. Ch- I think I lost. Oh, I've got you back again. Sorry, poor
Uh,
internet connection. Sorry, I missed your question.
yes. Oh yeah. Do you drink Guinness?
Do I drink? I do drink Guinness. I
Yes, I
do.
thought you would.
Guinness is it's hard to explain why Guinness is the nicest drink in the world
Yeah.
because it just is the nicest drink in the world, and it's very much an Irish thing, that everybody likes Guinness, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a fantastic
Well,
drink.
it's a very quiet taste.
It is. And I think that's probably why Irish people like it because Irish
Yeah.
people acquire a taste for alcohol very, very early.
Well, I'm a big beer drinker. I love my beer.
I used to brew my own beer.
Oh
Another
yeah.
thing that I used to brew my own beer here at home. But I ended up then just brewing Guinness the whole time, brewing a
Oh yeah.
Guinness type beer. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was once again came in very handy during lockdowns for coronavirus as
The
well
thing
to be
is,
able to brew
it
your own
got us
beer.
all through it, that lockdown.
Exactly,
Through those
absolutely.
difficult times, yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, as somebody Irish, Neil,
Mhm.
what places do you recommend to see?
Well, I'm a big believer in knowing a lot of people that come to Ireland and even
Yeah.
a lot of Villa fans since they started doing the podcast, they ask us for our recommendations on where to go in Ireland. And I think one of the biggest traps that people can fall into is, and I'm going to say sorry to all my family that live in Dublin,
Yeah.
and I'm going to say sorry to other people who live in Dublin, but don't spend all your time in Dublin because Dublin
Yes.
is, while it is the capital of Ireland and there's so much to do and it's brilliant and I
Yeah.
love going there, people neglect the west coast of Ireland. So
I bet they
anywhere
do.
from County Kerry is
Yeah.
I love County Kerry. There's a place called Dingle in
Oh,
County
okay.
Kerry where hopefully when I've made my millions and I get to
Yes.
retire, I'd love to retire and live in Dingle and off the grid, away
Yeah.
from the world, and just do my little
Well,
podcasts and
there's
drink
some
my pint
beautiful
of Guinness.
places in Ireland.
There is, yeah,
You got to enjoy it
absolutely.
Causeway as well.
The Giants Causeway, the other side of the country as well. Galway is a lovely place. It's the reason
Yeah.
I settled up here was because it's such a fun place. You
Yeah.
don't need to have a group of people to go and enjoy the city of Galway. It's a real
Yeah.
tourist city. I would definitely recommend it. Yeah, there's quite a lot of places you could go in Ireland. I'm
Yeah.
biased because I grew up this side of Ireland, but if you're coming to Ireland, dedicate a lot of time to the west coast of Ireland
Yes.
because it's the real scenic part of Ireland, is what I would say.
Have you been to Northern Ireland before?
I have, but I've never been to the Giants Causeway. Would you believe? Never
Oh,
been
yeah.
to the
All
Giants
right.
Causeway that you mentioned it. Yeah, I've been to Belfast once or twice, and I've spent quite a lot of time in County Derry.
Yes.
Spent a lot, and Donegal. Donegal's a lovely county as well. It just takes forever to get there.
Yes.
It's a really long drive to get to Donegal, but it's worth it. It's a fantastic county.
I
It's just
want to
so
go to.
beautiful.
I want to go to the Titanic Museum.
I haven't been. But I've heard that it's fantastic. And the Game of Thrones, if you watch
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, the Game of
Oh yeah,
Thrones
I love Game
experience
of
as well in
Thrones.
Belfast. Yeah. Two things on my list to see soon.
And also, Neil, I'd love you to spread the word about my podcast.
I will indeed. That's absolutely no problem. That's a
Also,
given.
I know you do regularly podcast with Dan Bardell, don't you?
Mm-hmm. I do indeed.
Could you pass a message on to him?
I will.
What it is, I've been trying to get in touch with him. I know he's been busy, but I did WhatsApp him, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd love to get him on the podcast.
Yeah, well, we can see what we can do. I'll certainly pass a
Yeah,
message on for
thank
sure.
you.
Yeah, I will indeed.
Also, do you speak to Dan Rollinson?
Dan is, from time to time I do. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you
Yeah,
could
we
just
can do
do a
whatever
good
we.
podcast.
Yeah, exactly. He
I
did a
could
great
get him on there.
podcast.
Yeah.
They did a great podcast today with Alan Hutton. You should
Oh
listen
yeah,
if you
I'm
haven't listened.
gonna watch it later. I can't wait for that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, it's absolutely brilliant.
Also, are you doing a podcast later?
Yes, yes, I am. Yeah, later on
Well,
today we'll
I'll be
do that.
watching that. I'll probably be watching that video.
Excellent. That's very good.
Okay, let's get on to the more Aston Villa chat. So, what do you expect from Newcastle on Saturday?
I expect Newcastle to come full of confidence,
Yeah,
and I expect us to be full of confidence.
yeah, it
And
should be a good game.
exactly, and I think whoever decided to put this game on
Yeah,
at at 12 o'clock or 12:30 on a Saturday
yeah,
should get a raise, because when it was decided,
yeah,
we weren't going that well. So
yeah,
whoever had the foresight to be able to do that is really good. But I think Newcastle will
yeah,
I don't think Newcastle will be scared at all of coming to
yes,
Villa
there
Park.
were.
But I think that Unai Emery
Yeah.
is definitely going to have a plan. I think
The
he's
thing
going
is,
to have a
we
plan
shouldn't
for them.
fear them.
That's it.
We've got
Yeah,
nothing to lose. We're going to go for it.
absolutely. Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be a goal
Yeah,
fest. I don't think it's going to be 3-2 or
yes.
4-3 or anything like that. But I think it will be an exciting game.
Well, to be honest, I'll take a draw. I would.
Yeah, me
A
too.
draw wouldn't be
Yeah.
a disaster.
I'd love that. As long as we score, as long as it's a
Yes,
score
that's
draw,
what we
and we keep
score.
our scoring run going.
Because what, Newcastle are third in the table.
Yeah,
Champions League places.
yeah. And remember, we beat if we beat Newcastle,
Yeah.
we get ever closer to those Champions League places.
Oh, we do. Yeah, we can still believe.
Exactly. There will be a very good movie could be made out of this season for
Yeah.
Aston Villa if we were to get into the Champions League
But that's
places.
why I
Let me
love
tell
about
you.
football. Because anything's
Yeah,
possible in football.
it is.
I think we should get our passports ready.
Yeah. Well, at least I know my passport is ready. I had to use it
Yeah.
last weekend, so
Okay, going back to Forest game.
Mhm.
What do you think of the game? What is your verdict?
So the game I thought was slow, but it was a game
Yes.
that I never felt we were going to lose. I thought we were fully in control.
Yeah.
I think the game needed a type of character like Bertrand
Yeah.
Traore to come on, a character that nobody was fully sure what
Yes.
he was going to do. But once we scored, we were never losing that. We were never
Because the
not
second
winning that
half,
game.
because the second half was a lot better.
Yes, I agree.
Because first half, Forest, they tried to frustrate us.
Yep, they dug in.
But sometimes you got to be patient.
It's true. Yeah.
So what do you think of Eddie Howe?
I'm surprised. I'm going to be honest. I'm surprised with Eddie Howe because he's a
Yeah.
good coach. He's a good manager, but I
Yeah.
thought that he made a big mistake in taking so long out of the game after
Oh, yeah.
being at Bournemouth. And then he turned down the Celtic job, which has been a good stepping
Yes.
stone for the likes of Brendan Rodgers in the past to
Yeah.
get back into the Premier League. And I thought he made a misstep, but he
Yeah.
backed himself. He knew what he was doing. He
He
wasn't
did.
Newcastle's first choice, and he got
Yeah.
manager of the season last year. But Chad,
Yes.
I think Unai Emery has done a better job.
Yeah.
And I know that Newcastle were rock bottom and they won
Yes.
something like 13 in a row. But I think Unai Emery has done. I think he's probably done a better job
Oh,
at
yeah.
Aston Villa this year
With
than Eddie Howe did.
Emery, I think if he had more time, we could be in the Champions League places now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's at least 4 or 5 games prior to him coming in that we would have
Yeah.
100% won. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, Eddie Howe, though, he's overachieving
He is.
for what he's done at
Yeah.
Newcastle.
And see what he's allowed them to do.
Yeah.
He's allowed them to buy Bruno Guimaraes. He's allowed them to buy Alexander Isak.
Yeah.
And they have money because of their investment, but they're not good. Like, they haven't gone out and blown a lot
Yeah.
of money. They've spent money, don't get me wrong, but they
They're not
haven't
like
wasted
millions and
money.
millions, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully that will be us this coming
Yeah.
summer.
Because Eddie Howe, he spent 18 months at Newcastle.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just imagine what Emery's going to do next season.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Time will tell. And I
Yeah.
thought that Eddie Howe might be found out this season, but he's not,
Yeah.
and he's continued his great form at Newcastle. And
Yeah.
as I said, they've only lost 3 games in the Premier League. Arsenal have only lost 3 games in the Premier League
Yeah.
so far. So he's when he's not winning games, he's getting them to draw
Yes.
games, and that's where Villa need to get to at the moment. We're
Yeah.
still a team that either wins or loses, and Unai Emery needs to turn that around to turn those losses into draws, because
Well, I
we've
think,
won 11, we've won 14, we've lost 11, and we've only drawn 5. So you
yeah.
know, if we had turned 3
Yes.
or 4 of those losses into draws, that's 3 or 4 more points. That has us up at
Yeah.
51 points, only 2 points behind Spurs, and so on. And we're really looking up the table then.
Yeah, it's like Unai Emery. He's very similar to Pep Guardiola. I don't know if he's not as good as him, but he's nearly there, though.
Well, I think he is, from the fact that he in his own
Yeah.
way, he goes for games,
Because-
by playing the higher line in defence. Even though we are very defensive minded and we play 6 at the
Yeah.
back sometimes, he goes out there to win games. But whereas Pep goes out to win them 5-0, Unai
Yeah.
goes out there to win them 2-0. And there's
Well,
a
what
difference in
matters
that.
is getting the results.
Exactly. Correct. Yeah.
Even when you don't play the best. As long as you win, that's all that matters.
Absolutely. As I say, as long as people get to dust off their shorts and their flip flops and
Yeah.
their passports, no one cares how you get there. They only care about
Yes.
getting there.
So on Saturday, who do you think was player of the match?
This is a tough one because
Yeah.
everybody was like a 7 or an 8, I thought.
Yes.
I think in my post match podcast I gave the man of the match to Unai Emery, but
Yeah.
I think it was Tyrone Mings. I think it was
Actually, I
Tyrone
would
Mings.
agree. Well, I actually went for Tyrone Mings, yeah.
Did you?
Because I don't know why, how he carried us forward as well.
Mm.
How he carries the ball forward for his team.
Mm.
And him and Conser have been playing very well.
I'm not gonna tell any lies. I was worried about Konza after the first
Yeah.
4 or 5 games of the season, but my God, has he really turned it around, and he's been fantastic.
They've become a solid defensive partnership.
Yeah, and that's that's the beauty about about playing in defence, and
Yeah.
and also when you play in midfield as well. It's almost like a tag team partner in wrestling. You
Yeah.
need to trust them. You need to have a good partner in there in the middle of midfield, and we see that now that Douglas.
Yeah.
I thought this guy here. I thought Kamara was the good
Yes.
partner in the partnership, but it's actually Douglas
Kamara,
Luiz,
he's one of our best players.
and we've been missing him.
I always enjoy watching Kamara.
Yeah, I think he's great, and hopefully he's back at the weekend.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
Yeah.
So are you impressed with how Unai Emery's turned it around so quickly?
I still don't believe he's done it.
Yeah,
It's still in pinch me territory because
yeah,
we're playing with players like every single player
yeah,
outside of Alex Moreno that played at the weekend was. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm right in that one. Every single player
yeah,
that outside of Alex Moreno was a Dean Smith signing. So
yeah,
they've all been at the club 18 months. So what he's done is he's not come in, and
yes,
this is why I say it's very similar to an
yeah.
Eddie Howe. Is he's come in, he's picked players off the floor.
And also, he's got the
He
best out players like John McGinn,
yeah
Watkins, Matty
yeah
Cash.
yeah,
He's done
and it's
wonders.
and it's amazing the way that these guys are on record as saying that he's explained what he
Yeah,
wants them to do in a way that they understand and can feel comfortable doing it on the field.
yeah,
And it sounds so simple when you hear them talk that way about the game of football, but it just goes to show how important
he does.
the actual explanation and the studying,
Yeah.
because the film work, I suppose, that he's done with this team is so
Also,
important.
I enjoy Villa passing the ball.
Yeah,
It's lovely
me
to
too.
watch under Emery.
Yeah, it's better than kicking it and chasing it anyway, isn't
Oh,
it? I
exactly.
much
But
prefer it.
it's a lot better.
Yeah.
So, Neil, how old are you?
I am 37 years young. I will actually be. I'll let you in the secret, Chad. I'm going to be 38 next week. So I
Okay.
am. I am. I think I did the maths. I'm something like 40 days. No, I'm not. I'm 60 something days older than
Oh,
Ashley
yeah.
Young, and Ashley Young is playing in
That's
the Premier League,
interesting.
and I'm not.
Well, I've met Ashley Young.
He's supposed to be lovely. I've never met him.
He's a real nice guy. He had a lot of time for me as well.
Excellent. Yeah,
And
he's
what I
supposed
like
to be
about
lovely.
him is he's a good leader.
This is it. Yeah,
He's
been
experienced.
pivotal. Mm.
Well, I'm 27 years young.
10 years in between the two of us.
10 years between us. So, apart from doing your podcast, do you have a day job?
I do, definitely do. I work as I actually work with Apple. Would you believe
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, I work with the phone company Apple. So it's really good. They're great company to work for.
Well, I like the Apple Mac.
Yeah,
I know another
Apple.
Apple products. I got a Mac and iPhone,
Excellent.
iPad. I do nothing Apple.
Excellent. Yeah, I like before I worked with Apple. I didn't use an awful lot of their products. I
Yes,
used their phones all right, but I would be lost without my Mac at the moment. I just find it so easy to use because I'm not a very computer literate person. So
I've always
yeah,
preferred Apple to Android.
yeah. Well, I was that guy as well. I still am. So I used to work selling phones before as well, and
Oh yeah,
I used to be an architect. Would you believe I qualified as an architectural
well,
technician? Sorry,
that's
and
amazing.
then the financial crash happened in
Yes,
2008, 2009, and I was very young. And I always think back to it, Chad, and I always laugh because I
yes,
remember the very last job I ever did. I was overseeing the development of a hotel here in
yeah,
Ireland, and the foreman and myself. He's one of the very few people in
yeah,
life that I I just didn't get on with him. The two we never clicked. We were never.
yeah,
He didn't like me for some whatever reason, and I couldn't understand what the reason was. And he said to me on the last
yeah,
day, he said, "You're 23, 24 years of age," and he was in
yes.
his 60s, and he said, "You don't have enough grey hairs to tell me what to do." And it's funny because I'd love if he could see me now with my big grey beard.
He's right there.
So I wonder would he listen to me now,
Yeah,
but. Yeah, when the financial crash happened in Ireland,
yeah,
I went selling. I went working for Carphone Warehouse. I
yes.
just took a complete different change after architecture, and I never looked back. Then I went working for Apple. Then
Do
afterwards,
you
so
enjoy your job? Do you enjoy it?
I do. I love my job. I get to work from home. I get to work from where we are here at the
That's great.
moment. So I've done it for the last 10, 11 years, and I love it. Yeah, I really do.
So going back to Aston Villa, do you think it would be a busy summer for us in
Yes,
transfer window? Yeah,
I do. I think it'll be busy, but I think that we're going to sign players that
Yeah,
fit into our team as opposed to going and blowing uh, multi
yeah,
million euros for the sake of it. I wouldn't be surprised if we were
yeah,
to see, like, I don't know what it is. I've seen
yeah,
players come in and play for Aston Villa that have been 20, 30 million and not really like I'm going to say this, but I
yeah,
don't mean that he's a poor player in any way, shape, or
yeah.
form. But we spent what was it, 38 million on Emi Buendia. We spent
Yes,
upwards
that's
of
right. Yeah,
30 million on Bailey, and maybe they weren't the players we needed for the team that we had
yeah,
at that time. The one thing I can feel 100% confident about Unai Emery is if we brought in a
yeah,
player for 8 million or 9 million, I know
yeah,
he's going to fit our system and we have a better chance of hitting the
yeah,
spot with him. So the trust factor is huge that I have
yeah,
with Unai Emery based on his past as well,
yeah,
his past transfer dealings. But I also think that we'll be busy because I
yeah.
think that there's a lot of talk that we're going to get a new sporting director.
Oh yeah.
Um, it's just been something that's been spoken about since Unai
Yeah,
Emery has come in.
is it a joint sports like, partnership? Is it talking about the
Pardon me?
ownership? It's got joint ownership.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, and they've been talking about our Unai Emery. It was rumored that he wanted the Real
yeah.
Sociedad sporting director to come, and then it was rumored he wanted the former Real Betis sporting
Oh
director
yeah,
to come. But yeah, but we'll see. That would be because that might be an indication
yeah.
of what's going to happen, I think, in the summer if that does happen. But either way, I'm happy. I think
But
we bought
also, I
Alex
think yeah,
Moreno for 15 million. No one thought we needed
yeah.
him. He's turned out to be brilliant.
But also, we're linked with Glenn Doozy.
Yes, big fan.
He would be a good signing, actually. He would.
Yeah, a big money, but I think
Yeah,
I'm actually surprised that I'm surprised that he didn't come in January, based on just how
yeah,
much was being spoken about him from various different sources. But I think you have to turn around as well, and I'm very much a guy who believes that we're not in a
yeah.
position to really massively draw players.
But the
Well, we
thing
weren't
is,
certainly in January.
we have to study the wage books as well,
That is true. That
which is
is
very
virtually true.
important.
Mm. That's why getting into Europe would be huge. The
Oh,
money
yeah,
that would come
we
with
could attract all better players then.
that's exactly it. Yeah, I agree.
So how long have you supported Aston Villa?
I have supported since I was 7, so that makes it 30 years. 30 years
Oh,
an
wow.
Aston Villa fan. Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, well, I actually get my Villa following from my mum,
Do you?
and I've been a Villa fan ever since.
Excellent.
So, apart from Paul McGrath, who is one of your other favourite Irish Aston Villa players?
Well, that is a good question. And I think my
Yeah,
podcast partner, Paddy, would murder me in my sleep if I
yeah,
didn't say Steve Staunton. So I'm going to say Steve Staunton just to keep him happy. And then
good
while he's
choice.
jumping around the place celebrating about Steve Staunton, I'm going to say that
Yeah,
I really wish Andy Townsend was a young
yeah,
player now, because I think if Andy Townsend played in the Premier League we have now,
yeah.
he would be outstanding, and he was a player before his time.
And
So
also,
I'm going
we
to
have
say
Robbie
Steve.
Keane.
Pardon me?
Yeah, we have Robbie Keane as well.
We had Robbie Keane, yeah, for I think we only what
It
do
was
we
a
have him for
loan spell, wasn't it, really?
16
Yeah.
games? Yeah, yeah, we only had him for a short period of time. Love Robbie Keane, yeah.
And also, all your family Villa supporters.
This is a really nice story because
Yeah,
there is no real football kind of supporting, dynasty or anything in my family, but
yeah,
because I became such a fanatic about Aston Villa, and because I
yeah,
just fell head first in love with them. All my family now support Aston Villa because of that. So my dad will ring me.
oh yeah,
My dad will watch this podcast, and he will ring me every
yeah,
Saturday and ask me what I think about the team, and he'll text me during the games all the time, and he'll go out of his way to
yeah,
watch it. My sister's become a big Aston Villa fan, and
yeah,
my mom is the same. So my mom will watch the games. So there is no history before me
Yeah.
of being an Aston Villa fan. I just decided I was going to be an Aston Villa fan, and as I say, my parents and my family decided to join in the
Yeah.
ride with me. Yeah.
So who's the biggest team in Ireland? The
Oh,
best team?
this one's going to get me in trouble. So the best and
Yeah.
probably the Man United or the Liverpool of teams in Ireland
Oh,
is a
yeah.
team called Shamrock Rovers.
Oh, yeah,
Shamrock
I know
Rovers.
them. Yeah, I know Shamrock Rovers, yeah.
Yeah, they're very, very successful team through the years. Well, once again, my podcast partner Paddy won't like me
Yeah.
saying Shamrock
Uh-huh.
Rovers because he's a big Shelbourne fan.
Oh, yeah.
But me personally, I follow. So my local club Limerick
Yeah.
has it's had a funny relationship with football. It's always been a huge
Yeah.
like it's been a huge footballing town. Massive, like even out where your granddad was from,
Oh,
out
yeah.
around there, massive football town down around Garryono, Jackman Park, places like that. Would you
What?
believe that Limerick FC in the 70s
Yeah.
played Real Madrid in European football?
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
yeah, and you can look if you look it up on YouTube after this, you'll be able to
Let's have a look at
find
that.
I can't remember the name of the documentary, but you'll be able to find it. It's about 10 or 15 minutes long. And there's a guy
Okay.
by the name of Desi Kennedy. And Desi
Yeah.
Kennedy scored 2 goals against, or he scored a goal against Real Madrid. And he was just
Yeah.
he was a mechanic. He was a mechanic who worked on cars and stuff like that. And it's a really nice story. But
I'll have to look up at
Limerick
that.
is Limerick has always been a hotbed for football.
Yeah.
But the worst thing that that happens in around Limerick football is that they've had their club has gone bankrupt so many times.
Yeah.
It was Limerick United, it was Limerick FC, it was Limerick 27, it then
Oh, yeah.
became Limerick FC again, and now the team is actually called Treaty United because they spent a year out of the league,
Yeah.
and then they came back again and under new ownership, and they had to change their name because they went to the wall. But it's the
Yeah.
football is huge in the city. The amateur game,
Yeah.
the kind of the club scene, if you want to call it,
Yeah.
the Sunday league scene is really competitive, and within amateur football in Ireland,
Yeah.
nearly every year a Limerick team will either win the amateur cup or
Yeah.
some years both teams in the final are from Limerick,
Oh, yeah.
and it's so interesting because it doesn't translate into the League of Ireland team that we
That's
have
amazing.
because people love playing with their club and with their mates and with their
Yeah.
friends and stuff like that so much. So there's some fantastic footballers in Limerick. It's just trying to get it translate to League of Ireland. And you know what? Part of me kind of
Yeah.
thinks never translate into the League of Ireland because it's kind of a beautiful story when you see these guys that are
Yeah.
all friends from like 5, 6, 7 years of age and playing with their local what you guys would call it a Sunday league team or whatever,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
small bit more. There aren't that many like there isn't a massive league pyramid
Yeah.
system here. So once you get past so you have the Premier Division in the League of Ireland, you have the First Division, and then everything
Yeah.
under that is all one big division essentially. So it's yeah. So there's part of me that
Yeah.
that loves the loyalty of playing with your club like that, but then there's another part of me that would love Limerick to win the League of Ireland
The
and
thing
go
is,
on
with
and play in the
football
League
in
Division.
Ireland, it's spreading the word about football.
It is,
It's getting
but
more
it's huge.
successful. Yeah.
It's huge. Yeah, it's
Also, Neil, I've got an interesting story to tell you.
go for it.
On Good Friday, I had a video call from Stephen Gerrard.
Did you
Yeah, it was amazing, bloke. It was interesting.
really?
And also, he's actually got me a signed John McGinn shirt.
Excellent.
So I was really pleased with that.
Oh, excellent. That go up on the wall behind you, will you? You're going to get a
Oh,
frame to put up on the wall
yeah,
behind you.
I'm going to get the one behind me or something, yeah.
Excellent. I
So
love a
it was
McGinn
on,
jersey.
Good Friday.
That's what that was only last week, yeah.
Yeah, so that was definitely a Good
Excellent.
Friday.
You said it exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a great Friday.
yeah, because Stephen Gerrard, he just said to me, it just wasn't his time.
You said which? Sorry,
see, it just wasn't his time.
It just wasn't his time. Yeah.
But I wish him all the best, man.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I think most Villa fans do. Yeah. I wish him all the best, and we'll see where he pops up again.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Neil, I'm going to bring this episode to a close. Thank you everyone for watching. And if you have enjoyed this video, please give it the thumbs up. And please remember to subscribe. Also, thank you so much, Neil, for your time. It really means a lot.
Not at all. Don't mention it, Chad. And you know what? Thank you so much for asking me to come on. It's been a really great conversation, and
it's been
I've never been accused of not talking. So I've never been accused of not talking. So I could have stayed talking for the next 2 hours. You're really engaging man, and I can tell how much you love Aston Villa. So it's been really, really lovely to chat.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure.